Hey, Sherpa Network, thanks for joining us today. I'm Tess Diaz, executive producer of DomainSherpa.com, and today we bring on Chris Zuiker, senior domain broker at MediaOptions.com, to discuss stop calling domains real estate, why, what that perspective does, and how we can broaden our sales opportunities or our acquisition opportunities. Stay tuned and enjoy.
First, serious about online trading? Secure your funds, keep your merchandise safe, and use a company that keeps the buyer and seller protected the whole way through. That's escrow.com. Payments you can trust. Finally, if you're a domain name investor, don't you have unique legal needs that require domain name technical know-how and industry experience? That's why you need Stephen Lieberman of Greenberg and Lieberman or Jason Schaefer of Esquire.com. Go search for Jason Schaefer or Stephen Lieberman on DomainSherpa, watch their interviews, and you can see for yourself that they can clearly explain issues, can help you with buy-sell agreements, deal with website content issues and UDRP actions, and even help you write your website terms and conditions. Stephen Lieberman and Jason Schaefer are the lawyers to call for internet legal issues. See for yourself at Esquire.com or APlegal.com.
So today's topic is stop calling it real estate.
Stop calling
domain names real estate. Like, stop calling it real estate.
No.
And not that I'm saying it's not a great analogy, but the whole premise is like, it has no emotional value. Oh, this is real estate. This is Manhattan. It's like, listen, I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas. Like, I don't know. I mean, when's the last time I went to Manhattan? Okay. What's that street versus that? 6th Street versus Broadway versus America Street? I don't know. Like, you're talking to foreign languages people. There's no emotional value. There's nothing that's getting them involved that really explains the value a domain brings.
Okay, so hang on. So there's no emotional value, but it's also a different language. I feel like it's easy to think that those are the same statement, but that's two different statements. So there's no emotional value because I'm never going to live in Manhattan, or someone else doesn't visit there. But then there's also no connection. I don't know 6th Street from Broadway. I don't know the difference anyway. And I think you're right. People with domain names, marketing experts feel like they should be experts in domain names, but they don't know the difference. For this, I mean, this is one particular piece of the marketing puzzle, and they're not a failure, but they could use some education in just this specific area. It doesn't mean they're a bad marketer. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's saying, it's like, listen, there's a more powerful way to talk about domain names, okay? The more powerful way to talk about is brand equity, okay? So what are you
saying? The more confident?
There's a more powerful way to talk about domain names, right?
And that's what it's
called a brand equity. It's like brand equity. Now listen, there's different, you got to know your buyer, because there's different buyers for domain names. There's different utilization cases, right? So we look at where their presences are. It's global, national, regional, local. Okay, listen, someone who's going to go local, they don't like, it's not really as important. Okay, I mean,
just the domain name in general isn't as important.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, the options open up. Okay, let's say you're a plumbing supply store in Eureka. Okay, Eureka Plumbing. Okay, plumbing in Eureka, right? You could name it the name of your company, right? Aces Plumbing, whatever, right? So the options you have are because you're local. All you're doing is for SEO things. It's so that people, when they say, "I need a plumbing store in Eureka," where that, boom, it shows up in your maps. Got it, great. Okay, so as you go up the chain, they need more differentiation, and the dimensions increase. I figure out, so that's the general topic, right? It's coming back to brand equity. Like, what is a brand? A brand is something that differentiates you. Okay, then it's brand positioning. Okay, what does it do? It positions you in the market both globally and industry. And then what is brand equity? Brand equity is this intangible aspect of why this mark, which is meaningless, kind of outside its own. Right now, there is a domain has it, but this mark then becomes worth more. So you think of an Apple.com. And I have the numbers here. Apple is worth, hold on a second. Like, the Apple brand is worth 150 billion, like whatever, like $1 billion, right? Well, why is that? Okay, it's brand equity. Now listen, if they had theapple.com, would it be that expensive, right? So I mean, like there's the point. So that's kind of the discussion. I don't know where it's going to lead, but it's just, I mean, it could be 10 minutes. We'll just say to the front, listen, this could be 10 minutes. It could be half an hour. It could be an hour. Who knows? Like, we're just going to get going here and talk about a different way to look at brands. And then, I don't know, let's just see where it goes.
Cool, man. Well, actually, I just have been recording it. So I think our audience wants to hear everything you said. Let's do it. What do you say?
You're bad. You're bad.
I would only do it and tell you if you didn't approve. But I liked it. I missed at the beginning of the recording when you're like, today we're going to talk about brands. We're going to piss people off. I was like, yeah. Recorded that. So.
If you're not pissed off by the time, then you're not you're not excited about domain names, because this is the way the industry has talked about domain names forever.
Yeah. And there's a power to your brand, and the domains are a piece of that puzzle. TheApple.com just doesn't have the same power, and they did a lot to build that. But there are some things that you just can't build, the Apple or the Facebook, But two, it depends. If you're a regional brand, maybe you don't need to invest that much. It's, sometimes I wonder, maybe we should do a series on regional brands. This is what's valuable for you. If your budget, where is, how many billboards do you need or radio ads do you need if your domain name stinks? Whereas a global
are we recording now? Is this part of the show?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, let's just start and go, Tess, because I mean, you and I are rolling. There's no sense. We gotta get this in the show.
I'm gonna play all of this included. All right.
Seriously?
What up, Sherpa Network? Let's do it.
Okay, let's go.
I'm at the beach. I don't really care right now. I may or may not have some product placement here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, let's go. So do you want to talk about regional brands? Where do you want to start? What do you want to talk about?
We'll get into it, because I have my chart here with all my frames that I use. Okay?
Did you write on paper?
I do. And I've got a book. I'm on like my third journal here too. So
you keep a business journal.
Business, life, personal, you name it. I mean, just to write things down. It's interesting. Like, I'll go back and read my journal like from years ago or from like 7 months ago. And it's like, wow, I thought of that. Like, what was I on? Right. I must've been on like 10 Red Bulls or something, because that's like some cool stuff. Like, my mind couldn't think about it now, but once I get rolling, then I write it down and come back to it. But listen, today's show is this is about stop calling it real estate. And this is, like we said in the beginning intro here, this is gonna tick some people off here. And I already did a teaser video to this on my LinkedIn, and it was interesting, the comments that I got, like right off the bat. It's like, I disagree with you. And I said, did you watch my 1 minute intro? Well, no, I haven't looked at it. I was like, well, you gotta watch it. Like, you can't disagree without watching the video. Seriously, like I got a really great community on LinkedIn. If you're not connected with me, you have to connect with me. ChrisZuiker.com. You see a guy with the bald head. That's me. Hit connect. I will connect with you. So it's this thought test of like, stop calling it real estate. So often in the market, in domain names, and okay, now preface this. I'm 4 years now, Tess, in domain names, right? I think if I looked at my LinkedIn, it's 4 years, so I'll trust that. Maybe they rounded up, so maybe it's 3.5 years. And it's interesting, as I was researching, getting into it, one of the things you hear a lot is, hey, domains are real estate. It's like property in Manhattan versus Brooklyn. I don't know. You're like from there. I don't know the difference too much, I'm sure the prices are much more in Manhattan. I've been in Manhattan quite a bit, but then they get into like, it's on 6th Street, Manhattan. It's on what's the main street that goes through Times Square? What's that? Broadway. It's on Broadway. It's on America, Avenue of the Americas, right? This is awesome real estate. And they go on this long diatribe, these long emails, these long blog posts, and it's like right over your head. And the reason why is that there's no emotional value in that statement. There's nothing that really connects this buyer who's looking to build a brand, looking to build this company that's going to quite possibly be this thing that takes them out of maybe out of their job. Maybe it takes them, it's like what they're planning on, their nest egg, right? This is it for them. There's no emotional connection to where they're at right now. Okay. It's like, yeah, it's real estate. No, I'm looking to build a brand. I'm looking to build this elite company. And the real estate equation just doesn't do it. So that's why the catchy title, stop calling it real estate. I'm going to stop
And
here.
you're thinking, I mean, who are you talking to when you're saying, hey, stop it? You're saying to sellers, buyers, marketers, everybody.
Yeah, so
Everybody.
we use it a lot the domainers use it a lot because that's kind of what we're told, what we're taught, what we bring it down. It makes sense. I mean, it is value. It is an asset. It is a digital asset, similar to real estate.
Yeah.
But the problem
And
is that
I
when
want
you're
to
talking,
say, I think, 20 years ago when people were just figuring stuff out, maybe that was helpful. But it's time now to evolve. It's time I'm trying to think of an analogy, but remember in the 80s when a cell phone was this big and you had it in your car, it's not the same anymore. And I feel like calling it real estate, you're saying that was good in, 1990 or 2000, but it's 2018, it's 20 years later. Let's we can build,
let's evolve.
build on a public consciousness. People, didn't get it before, but now there's something new that we can build on that prior understanding, right? And so it's time to move. Yeah. Let's level up, right?
Because especially when you're selling a higher ticket domain name, I mean, I don't, in my experience, okay, I haven't seen that equation of, hey, this is Manhattan, probably Manhattan. I haven't seen that move them. That's not the deciding factor of why they move. So if you remember, there's four basic domain strategies, right? Own your brand, own your sub-brand, marketing campaign domain names. That's very broad. Marketing campaign names are very broad, okay? They include podcasts, that can include specific things for ads, that can include like lead pages, but it's something around marketing that supports your main brand. So if you think of, I like to use the example of ClickFunnels. He has expertsecrets.com, right? Then he has clickfunnels.com. So he has all these multiple domains that feed his main engine. Okay, it's a marketing campaign domain name. And then you have defensive domain names, or defensive in nature. You're buying because it's a defensive position. It helps either helps you to capture something with the market, or it helps you to strengthen your brand security, your email security.
Okay, so is defensive number 4, or that's a sub of number 3?
That's 4. That's 4.
Cool. All right.
And we have a blog. We'll link the blog, Tess, on this this show here, because we did a blog on it and it's pretty good. So, so like, you got to understand why people are buying. I'm digressing a little bit from our topic, because then you get into the types of buyers. Is it regional? Are they online? But in the end, most of the big purchases are for a brand, right? They're for a startup. They're looking to create a new brand. It's for a new sub-brand, a new product extension of their brand. And so it's important to realize, what is a brand? So the first thing is, what is a brand, right? A brand is just this. It's something that distinguishes you from the competition. It could be like Nike has the swoop, right? Apple has the Apple thing. They also call themselves Apple. So it can be a symbol, it can be a letter, it can be a word, it can be 3 words, it can be a made-up word like Google, you name it. It's something that distinguishes it from in the market, distinguishes your company and your brand. Now, remind me to come back to that, okay, because I just had another thought on global positioning, right? So the second thing is positioning, right? Brand positioning. This name helps you to position your brand in the marketplace, both globally and in an industry standpoint, right? So globally being, if you're Nitro, I like that example. I think there's some cool brands there. Do you own Nitro.com, right? How many other Nitros are out there? So when you think of the internet, before the internet came, things were very siloed, right? So if you're looking for a boat, what would you do? You pick up a boat magazine. You call a boat dealer. Like, there wasn't a central hub of information you could go to. You look in the yellow page under boats, right? And you see Nitro. You wouldn't see Nitro software because, unless you looked, I guess, the white page. But generally, you're looking at boats, you'd go there, right? That was the mode that people came into the world. Well, the internet's changed that. Now the internet, it's no longer siloed. I mean, it's no longer siloed. Now it's like this toll booth, this central theme, right? So now this positioning is now, when you look at Nitro boats are now having to compete with Nitro software, Nitro drink, and Nitro insurance, and everything other Nitro, right? So they're competing for the global position for this brand. Now,
and hang on, what about brands that aren't global? What about regional, national?
Okay,
Is it
so
the
I'm saying the
same to them?
name, the name, yes. So you could be Nitro in a regional brand, okay, but you're still competing for the global positioning of that keyword. Okay, when someone types in Nitro, what are they going to see, right? Are they going to see? So now that, like I said, now the internet is, you have the central toll booth in a sense that everything's coming through. They're typing in Nitro, right? Because you call yourself Nitro, okay? Yes, you're Nitro software or you're Nitro whatever or Nitro whatever, but you call yourself this brand. And because of that, people end up looking up in that way, right? So what happens is that then when you think about it, now this is the global positioning. Who owns that global positioning for your keyword, for your brand? And when you don't own it, then you're always you're always having to pay a price to the person who owns it. Now, think about so it has there's multiple scenarios. Okay, you could have a small company that owns the .com, and the bigger company is like My Nitro or Get Nitro. Okay, in that case, yeah, they're gonna dominate that, but they'll always pay a halo effect. Now the risk comes in is when you are a big company.
They'll pay a what?
They'll pay a premium. They'll pay some sort of investment to. There'll always be a halo effect to the .com, right? So there'll always be, because they'll type in now. But the main risk is that, let's say a bigger company comes in and takes the leadership position, the .com. Then what happens is that they can effectively make the other brands irrelevant, right? Because they have the clarity to the domain name. Now you could have nitro.io, whatever, Nutil, but in the end, the .com seems to be still the domain that people naturally type in. And going back to the study by Reese and Reese, it's like how we rank things in our mind. We just rank it. We have to rank it. Like we have to rank things. Everything can't be on par, because then our brains will go nuts. We go crazy.
And,
right?
this is a good moment to chime in. I certainly regularly see domain investors who basically got the offer of a lifetime and passed because they didn't, because someone started a new company with their domain as their brand. They built it up a bit, and then they came to acquire it. And the seller thought that they could sell it to someone else, or they could sell it for more money. And basically, if someone comes in, finds a space and dominates it or trademarks it, you're never going to be able to sell to anybody else. And that's an important factor. It seems to me a lot of sellers forget about or miss because they, get excited that they got offered some money, but they were hoping for more. And
yes.
Sometimes if you come in and dominate a space, nobody else is going to come in and nobody's going to start Apple sneakers. Like, it's not going to happen. Right?
Yeah. No, there is a time and a place. There is this, I talk about it quite a bit on my LinkedIn videos that I do. There is this where you have like the perfect scenario that it's above and beyond for your domain name that may come once or twice in a lifetime. That's it. And then everything else is below that, especially at your point when it's built out. So that's global positioning. It's very important. So then there's industry positioning, how your domain is in the industry. And once again, like it's a matrix. Okay. So I just want to like everyone know, like, it's not, you have to think about it in terms, and I have 3 triangles that I do, and maybe I'll draw it up right now to my paper. You wouldn't be able to read it if I turned it around, but okay. You have where is it at? The presence, the location, is it global? Is it national? Is it regional? Is it local? And then where is the location? Is it only online? Is it online and offline? Like a ring.com, right? Think about that. It's all, you can find it both, right? You can find it in your stores. You can find it online. Or is it just strictly offline? Let's say, like we said, like the local plumbing store. It's strictly offline. You're not going to go and they're not going to, in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, they're not going to sell you something and ship it to you. They don't even have that website, right? And then there's the type of startup. Is it a lifestyle? Is it a hobby? Okay. I think most of the domains that we think of in businesses that are out there, they're really hobbies. We say small businesses, but it's really a small business hobby. It's not really meant to be this massive like empire that comes and they build.
Give me 3 examples. What are you talking about?
Okay. So let's say someone is starting up a little drone company. Okay. They're starting it, or a lot of these Amazon sellers are starting it up. Like me, I've started some up, right? And You're doing
Okay,
some
wait. Chris, you're such a good person. Not that it would be a bad person to do this, but you don't even think to plug your own business.
Oh.
What's your own business, Chris?
Okay, it's vivacenutrition.com. This was before I was in domain names, but you can find it on Amazon. So those are examples.
vivacenutrition.com.
Yep.
VIVACE.
Nutrition.
I have used some of your protein powders. They are super, wait a minute, yeah, for real. They are super clean New Zealand protein. Huh?
It's good stuff. It's good stuff, yeah.
And clean, cold pressed, what is it?
Yeah, cold pressed, non-GMO, no use stevia in there. So I mean, it's good. It's healthy. I mean, it's healthy, good, healthy.
Good protein stuff. Okay, so anyway, so drones, protein powder, you consider that in the hobby category.
Then you go to your small business, and then you go to scale business and elite. Okay, so as we're talking here, you gotta look at this. There's a matrix here. Okay, so you got to find your niche in domain names, and once you find your niche, then you can hone in on it. And so often people they miscategorize the domains that they have. Like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. This is the scalable startup brandable domain for only online businesses. You're like, not really. It's more like your hobby type business. And because of that, the pay range, what they'll pay is in a certain range. Okay. So scalable startup that's only online and it's going global is going to pay more because they need a global presence. They need a domain name and they need to own their brand in the global positioning. Okay. Brand positioning, brand equity. Okay. So brand equity is this feeling that a brand gets when you breathe life into a brand that takes that brand and that name and creates this massive value for that company. Okay, so if you look at brand equity, I'm going to switch to my computer here. Microsoft, their brand value is worth $104 billion. Google, $132 billion. Facebook, $94 billion. Right, I'm going to go down to, this is the top 100 brands here. Netflix, 11.5 billion. Pampers went 11.4. Red Bull, 10.4. Let's see here. So you can go on down the line, right? You can go on down the line, and this value that is created with the brand. Now, when you think of, so like brand equity is what it's about creating loyalty. It's about creating awareness, right? It's about not only differentiating your brand with authenticity, credibility, and being aspirational, but it's taking that and allowing you to charge more money.
It's trust.
Exactly. It's trust. Right? Yeah, exactly. So in
trust.
The end,
I trust this is going to be a good computer. I trust that maybe, I've always bought Toyotas. I'm going to buy another Toyota. I'm just going to pick what size, shape, style, how many seats, it's a loyalty, almost not so much like I'm loyal to you because I guess because I like you, because you treat me well, and because I know what to expect. It's why I'm on Cape Cod, but the closest restaurant is a Panera Bread, not a local restaurant, because people who are far away, who don't want to risk and get something they don't like, they know what they're going to get there, right? That's brand loyalty. That's brand equity. That brand equity that they keep building as they market or as they perform the way the customers expect, right?
Yeah. So it's like you're breathing life in this brand. You're aspirational, credible, you're authentic. And then this brand equity is what takes it to the next level, and it creates this massive value for a brand.
Okay.
So when you don't own your domain,
aspirational, like, Media Options is very involved in the reforestation of Panama.
Okay. So when you think of,
that's not what you mean by aspirational, right? What?
There's a level when you think of brands you like. Okay. So you ask someone, hey, what car do you like? Well, I want a Toyota Prius. Why? Because it's aspiration. You aspire to be this person who, I don't know, loves the earth and loves saving money on gas, right? You ask my sons what kind of car, they're like Ford Mustang convertible all day long, right? Because they aspire to the fastness, whatever, okay? So brand aspirational is your brand needs to inspire people. It needs to be, it needs to like elevate them in their mind, right? So when you hold your Apple phone, it's aspirational. It's like, wow, okay, it like inspires and so there's this combination of it's not just owning your brand, okay? It's the messaging and the communication that you behind it, the product that you behind it. But what happens though is that if you don't own your domain name, especially for companies that are going big, they take a hit to their brand equity. And the reason why is that, I mean, can you imagine Amazon being theamazon.com? Like what would happen? You know, like you can't even, the big companies, you cannot even, a lot of them, you can't even fathom them not owning their domain, right? And this brand equity, this takes loyalty because there's another company out there that's then vying for their attention, vying for their loyalty, vying for this in a leadership position.
So Amazon, instead of being named, you know, Abracadabra, just Cadabra is what he started with, right? That, you know, it sounds great and magic and quick. I order these books, boom, they're there. But Amazon opens it up to, I can buy books, I can buy drones, I can buy protein powder. It's just this vast adventure.
Right.
So the brand equity, the aspiration is, I can connect to the idea that I'm going to explore and discover and harvest everything I ever wanted to buy.
Right. Okay. So think of like a harbor.com, right? Like a yellow.com, like all these domains that are out there that we've helped to sell. Now there's this equity. Now, okay. So backtrack a little bit here, right? Why do some domains have value? How do you price domains? Well, it's this equation of brand equity. Like they have equity already built in. There's already goodwill built in. There's already trust built into this keyword. There's already this momentum that's in this keyword. And so that's why certain domains are priced higher than others. That's why certain categories are priced higher than others, because there's goodwill. I can't hear you.
There is momentum built in. That is a quote. There is momentum built in to premium domains.
Yes.
And when you select a domain, you want to choose one that already has momentum built in.
Because you gain that brand equity right off the bat. Like Ring.com, they gain that brand equity right off the bat. This momentum that helped them to move forward and sell for $1 billion, right? Now listen, I use this example all the time because I love it. Amazon could have knocked them off in probably 7 days. They could have just picked up the phone to their supplier and say, listen, I want their exact same product line on my desk with whatever name tomorrow. But guess what? They didn't do that because of this brand equity that they had built up, this loyalty, this customers they had built up with this. Okay.
Yeah. And Ring, Mike Zuiker, before he sold DomainSherpa to us, he interviewed the founder of Ring.com about why he selected Ring.com. And it really, you're right. The credibility, the equity, the aspiration. I want a ring of security around my home. I ring the doorbell. It has that pivot capacity, but also the aspiration. I want to be surrounded by security, a ring of security. Yeah.
Right. So remember that there's the 7 dimensions of domain name, right? So there's global positioning, industry positioning, branding, marketing, SEO, email, and be able to pivot, right? So all those, but what we're talking about today is this brand equity equation. Like why elite companies and companies that are scalable and viable startups and even small businesses need to own their brand online, because at some point their brand equity is capped. And there's this massive risk if they don't own that. So if another company comes in and takes that domain, okay, which, I mean, we can't even share what we see because it just wouldn't be fair, right? I mean, all the negotiations that we're in, because it just wouldn't be right. But there's so many negotiations that we're in that even some that we lose, that the people are devastated because another company came in and maybe offered 4 times what their budget was. And they'll forever not own that domain name. And that happened like 2 months ago, where we're broken domain name and another company, like, I mean, I don't know the other side of the equation, but they did offer, if you take it on face value, right? Honestly, in negotiations, I mean, 4 times what 3.5 times what our client offered. And they just couldn't afford it. So this like brand equity. So a lot of times what happens is founders will get to this point where they're making money. They're making $25, $50 million in revenue. So I don't need it anymore. I'm okay with getwhatever.com. Listen, I get it. I understand. But the risk that you are leaving open to your brand is just like, it's significant. It's a significant risk to your brand by not owning that domain name, because what can happen is another company can come in, a stronger company, can buy that and build that out and capture the equity that you built with your brand because of the momentum towards that keyword. And then that's when you see the impact to your bottom line, because now what happens is that forever you tell your customers, hey, no, I mean, don't go there because we're getwhatever.com. No, tell your investors, no, well, let me backtrack here. So what happens is that when you think about this, what happens to your brand equity when you don't own that? You're building, everything you have is built off this keyword brand that you say. Make it up, right? It could be anything you want. Nitro, any brand. It's this is you. This is what you talk about internally to your customers, to your employees, to your investors, to yourself. And then another company comes in and acquires that. So when you think about it, it's like, what does that say about what does that say to your investors? Hey, no, we're really serious about this, but yeah, we don't own this. Another company just launched on this, and guess what? They now have $50 million in funding versus our 5. And yeah, your investment's probably going to go down into into flames. What does that say to your investors? I mean, how do you as a startup go in front of your investors and say, yeah, when they say, hey, why don't you own your domain name? How did you let this other company launch on your same brand in a different primary trade class? Okay. What does that say to your investors? What does it say to your employees when you say, hey guys, this other company just launched on our brand, right? What does it say to your customers when you say that? What does it say to the industry?
And do you think that it's going to become industry standard in the future for a domain name consultation to be a part of the particularly venture capital advisement? I mean, certainly I know, that's how Mike Zuiker got into domain names. He was advising on venture capital and researched domain names to advise a company he was investing in.
Right.
I believe Mark Levine, I believe, has a similar story. But I'm surprised, and I certainly know venture capital firms who do incorporate advisement on domains, but I'm surprised at how many do not. Do you see that as becoming a standard, and how?
Yeah, I don't see how it doesn't. I mean, I don't see how domain strategies don't get worked in here to your brand. And yeah, I agree with you, Tess. How these investors cannot, I just lost my train of thought here with your question, but yes, I definitely see that being important. But when you think of marketing, okay, I have my MBA from University of Arkansas. All right. Yay. Listen, we didn't learn domain names. We studied Harvard business case studies. Okay. We talked about stuff, but we didn't learn this aspect of the business. Okay.
But you did take marketing classes.
Yeah. I took some awesome marketing class, but it wasn't there. So what's happening is that the old school is now teaching the new school of branding, and they're learning the old ways, thinking, it's not important. But here's the thing is that I think this is where you're alluding to, is that the pioneers of these brands that are out there on the internet, they think differently.
Yeah. Well,
think differently about, what's that?
Oh, well, Rand Fishkin, who we just re-aired his video by popular demand, his title on everything is marketing expert. And what he is an SEO expert, but the majority of marketing is done via SEO. And I think then because of that, he's learned a lot about non-SEO marketing, and he is one of the foremost experts in the world on marketing, because he's probably number 2 in the world on SEO after Matt Cutts,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. No,
okay.
I mean, you're absolutely right. So I mean,
derail you.
What was I talking about? I was so intently listening to you, I forgot. That happens to me, I'm like, I just drop everything and okay, yeah. I was saying pioneers think differently. They're this new class of entrepreneurs is thinking differently because now they've only grown up with the internet. And so they realize they've had the experiences now in selling multiple companies. And so when you look at a lot of some of the easiest sales that we have in domaining are from serial entrepreneurs that are like, I get it. Like saving $5,000 on that domain name is not the point here. The point is how I'm going to make $1 million on the brand that this domain name represents.
And when I'm going to stand in front of, when I'm pitching, whoever I'm pitching to, that pitch credibility of, hey, I got ring.com, blah, 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 blah. Your whole pitch is different than when you don't. And because they've stood there. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, these serial entrepreneurs, they get it, they understand. So these pioneers that have pioneered the greatest brands on the internet, they get it.
And what about the people who say, but I'm just a small business selling drones, I don't need to do that.
Okay, and they're probably right. They're probably right, Tess. That's where it comes back to. You have to know your audience, okay? So our specialty is really that scalable, viable startup, that elite startup, that small business that wants to dominate and create that's doing some business online. They're doing some business, maybe it's national or regional, and they want to dominate their market. They understand that they need marketing and how a domain name impacts their brand, impacts their marketing, impacts their branding, impacts their SEO, impacts their ability to pivot. Okay, they understand that. But that's where you have to differentiate. Like, not every brand's for every company. And you have to, when you go into this, you have to realize that some brands, so some people, when they reach out to me, say, hey, I've got this great brand. I'm like, it's not bad, but it's just not, I just can't help you. Because that is maybe more of your hobbyist style business. Will they pay $3,000? Yeah, maybe. I mean, for a hobby business, it's right in line with what they want. They may pay $3,000 because they can get X return on that. But that's not a brand for a scalable startup. Okay. And so, yes, you have, like, when you have these great domain names, even if it's a one-word domain name, like a rooster.com, okay, or any of the domain names we're brokering, like a quilt.com, rooster.com, they're not for everyone. Okay, so back to this thought here. Okay, so stop calling it real estate. Okay, so we just gone into this way that like really impacts your brand. Talks about the pain points, right? What do you tell your investor when another company comes and has acquired your brand and is now launching with a $5 million or $50 million or $100 million budget? What do you tell your investors? Oh, hey, we just couldn't afford the extra $25,000 to buy that brand. Really? I mean, like, they're going to be okay with that after they've given and helped you out with, $20 million, right? So there's this brand equity equation. Yes, a brand can get to that certain extent. I'm not saying that there's not brands out there who got to the $30 million mark or $85 million mark with domains and brands that I think would be subpar. They've done it. They've done it through expert marketing and SEO and these other aspects. But what happens is that if you're building an empire, if you're building and you're trying to maximize the brand equity, okay, and move beyond a commodity. So the opposite of a brand is a commodity, right? Is direct selling, is this idea of direct selling, which means that you're just pumping traffic, but once you stop, it dries up, right? So, wow, we've gone long here, Tess. I don't know if we've touched the surface or
this was great stuff.
How much farther we want to go here today, or if we want to pick it up on a different one.
It's all you, man. I think this was fantastic for our audience to hear. I think the Sherpa Network is really going to connect with this. We have an audience of domain investors, and also I think marketing experts and SEO folks want to hear this, not only to educate themselves, but also to give them the language to speak with others in their company who they're up against. It's hard to evangelize others to see this, it's not a new way. It's not 1996 anymore. It's not 2006 anymore.
The dynamics of branding. And I'll leave it with this. Okay, so there's three things. There's three factors that are driving the market, right? So the first one is the social factor. More and more brands are strictly online. What that means is that they understand they need to own their brand online because that's all they have. There's no physical store you can go in. When you look at like brands like a lemonade.com, I use that example, right? I don't know. I've never seen a lemonade. I mean, I've seen lemonade stands, but I haven't seen lemonade insurance company. Okay, so they're strictly online. Like a harbor.com is strictly online. Like a CoinX is strictly online. You're not going to see, there's not a location you can pull up to. So there's a social dynamic that is leading to the startups today want to own quality premium domains with high brand equity value and potential. Okay. And maybe that's how we start talking about this. Brands with high brand equity and potential, right? So that's the socials, right? So there's this demand that's still picking up. There's going to be ebbs and flows. Okay, there's ebb and flow right now. I think with the Chinese market, maybe some 3-letter domains and along those lines that I've seen. But it's ebbing and flowing. But in general, the market is there. It's going to continue to be there. It's going to continue to be more and more important. Then you have the economic factors that investors, this whole brand equity equation, they're realizing the importance. They've done more and more deals where the equity may be hit by not having owning their brand or the brand coming in. So they're willing to pay for the brand. So you have demand going up. Demand going up. You have money coming in, and then you have supply coming down because only one person can own the clarity and the simplicity of a domain name. Okay, so you have the supply going down. On top of that, you have most companies, they have these things in vaults, and they're just not going to they're not gonna release them. And I know this because I've called them and I've talked to them. And they're like, no money, no amount of money is gonna sell this. Like, come on, seriously, like you have it in this vault. You're not gonna release this? Like, no. So like they'll forever be put away. So they're being put away. And so you have supply going down. So you have the perfect equation. The market's moving. It's going to continue to move. I'm still very optimistic. I've seen some things behind the scenes. You have too, Tess. I mean, it's been a great year. I think it's continuing to be a great year. And we will leave it at that.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Love your energy, your knowledge, your insight. You are such a fabulous Sherpa. To our Sherpa Network, thanks for joining us. We'll see you all next time.
Awesome.